Hey everybody, welcome to the Herd Fit Podcast with Dr. Sam Rhee and myself, Coach David Syvertsen. This podcast is aimed at helping anyone and everyone looking to enhance their healthy lifestyle through fitness, nutrition, and most importantly, mindset.
All right, welcome back to the Herd Fit Podcast. We are here with the final episode with Coach Mike DelaTorre. I am Coach David Syvertsen. I'm next to Dr. Sam Rhee, 2 seats to my right. We've dived into a few different topics with Mike, some heavier than others. We want this one to be a little bit more lighthearted, but it's also very important. And it revolves around the importance of culture. And I'm talking about gym culture, all right? And we're not going to talk about anything outside world. There's like every CrossFit has a culture. And some are good, some are bad. But at the end of the day, it's subjective. And it really revolves around what the owners want, and then what the coaches want, and then what the athletes want. What do they want their culture to be? And that's what they aim for. And Bison, over the past, we're almost 8 years in now, has a culture. And these guys literally just asked me, what is Bison's culture? And I was like, I don't know. It's hard to put into words. I'm going to try my best. I think it's a gym that supplies the outlet that they need, whether they're going for intense competitive CrossFit, performance-related CrossFit, just health in general, a healthier lifestyle so that they can feel better day to day, and a place where community is built. And so to wrap that up, it's a place for everyone, but it's a place that everyone should try, but it's not the place for everyone. But I think that we fill all three voids there at a really high level. I think that we help people that want to perform, people that want healthier lifestyle, and people that want to meet new like-minded individuals. And that's what we do really well. And what do you guys think about that? You better agree.
No, I definitely agree. I've been to a bunch of gyms since I started coaching, and I tell Dave this all the time, like, this is a special place. And for the first time in like 9 years, whenever I'm here, I feel like it's home, which is great. And not every gym is like this. So sometimes you get gyms that they cater to the high-end athletes, and then your normal everyday CrossFitter, they kind of feel like they're down by the wayside. Or there's gyms out there that, are maybe like too regular for some people, and maybe the higher level athletes don't get as much attention as they need to advance, right? Like, I think that this gym has a great mix of all three, which is why it's such a friendly place and such a motivating place to be at.
Our pre-talk, I was thinking about it, and definitely there are a lot of very high-performing individuals here. There are people here that, bar none, hold their own against anyone else out there. I mean, not like professional, but I'm talking about, you go to any other CrossFit gym and I would say, wow, we have people that would go toe-to-toe or beyond where most CrossFit gyms are. Yeah. But I can also think of so many people that are here to get their sweat on and hang out with their friends, which is great.
Yeah.
I also know a number of people here who just come here to get fitter, and they may not be really high level. Maybe they're just starting, and yet they are really comfortable coming in, working out for an hour, maybe every day, maybe 3 or 4 times a week, and then going home. And that's the extent of their participation here. And that is totally fine. I don't think we poo-poo anyone on any level, and we don't force people to drink the Kool-Aid and be like, no, other than the open, which we can talk about. Yeah. But I think that regardless of what your level is, you should be participating in the open, even if you just show up for an hour every day and have no other interest. Everyone feels comfortable. We don't push anything on anyone unless they want it. I think the thing that we aren't, and this was funny because someone, who told me this? I can't remember, but someone showed up to the gym, and after a couple classes, they left because they didn't think they were going to hook up with anyone or date anyone or meet someone like that. And yeah, okay, I'll buy that. I mean, we're in North Bergen County. This is not Hoboken or downtown Manhattan, right, where you have a super young demo. I mean, we have a young people here, young adults, but the mix is what it is.
Right.
So I don't know. That's sort of where I was thinking about it when I was thinking about culture in Bison. And I've seen it evolve. It has changed over the 5 or some years or 6 years, whatever, that I've been here.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
We'll get into what has changed, why it's changed. Is it a good change? Is it a bad change? I mean, time will tell, right? Time tells everything.
And I would say that you've actually cultivated, you have not actively or passively sort of guided what you think is important at Bison.
Yeah. And I would always say, like, from the day, like when you open up a gym, like you're just praying someone walks in the door with a credit card, right? So that you can keep the place open and get this thing going, right? But once you get some momentum, like you have to make a decision at some point. And we've had several meetings with Chris and I, coaches and ourselves, right? Like, should we separate? Should we get another gym or get another space that we can have a different room so competitors can do their thing away from the rest of the gym? And then more often than not, that doesn't work. And I've always thought like they can be blended together as long as the leadership in the gym is on the same page. All right. So leadership in the gym to me is not just the owners and it's not just the coaches, right? Leadership to me is those groups of people, but also some key members that have been here for a long time. I view Aaron as a leader in our gym, and he's quiet, right? Which is ironic. He's a pastor, so he talks for a living, right? But he's a quiet presence at Bison. No, he's never the loudest in the room. He rarely talks trash unless it's to me, only on double under day because he can't do anything else better than me. But anyway, but what he does, like Aaron is a really good example. Like he wants to come here, and on certain days he wants to be the scorer. He wants to get out. He wants to have his time. He wants to really get after it. He wants to beat me in certain workouts, right? But he's here really just to be part of the group and feel like he's healthy, right? And I've always thought that it's a good example that you don't need to label yourself a competitor. You don't need extra programming or your own coach, or need to do 18 workouts a week to be considered very good at CrossFit. And you're talking to someone that has a little side business that's not fancy, of people that want to compete and do extra work. So like I talk people out of it all the time. I was like, I really don't think you need it for what your goals are. Like, I get the goal all the time from people. I want to be top 10% so I can make the quarterfinal. Cool. You don't need extra programming. You don't. All right. And you might feel like you do because everyone always feels like they need more. They need more. I want to really get after it. I'm like, well, you need to build tolerance for it, but you also need to get really good at the basics. And then we go from there. Now, if we had a gym that was separated, like competitors over here, normal members over here, it would really take away from what we are right now, because it would make people resent the others, you know? Yes. And that was one thing when we started. I wanted to prove, and I think we've done it, that you can intertwine the two. You can intertwine sport and fitness as you have responsible people in the front. Now, if we had half our coaches agreed and half our coaches did not agree, and they're kind of like whispering and talking shit and like being immature about that, and like talking about either side, the competitors or not competitive side, that would slowly kind of kill the brand.
Yeah, I agree. Having competitors and quote unquote competitors and quote unquote your general athlete in the same class, dude, we feed off of each other.
Right.
And that's a super important thing to just have is to have that unity, because I have experienced that where I've been at a gym where there was a separate competitor program, and it definitely does. It can breed two things. Number one, that sense of elitism, which it's a pain in the ass to deal with. Yeah. And then the second thing is resentment amongst like your general, quote unquote, general population members. Like, you don't want to make them feel like crap.
The trickle down effect can't be understated in terms of having really good athletes with anyone else.
Yeah.
Because for a couple of things. One is, I would say one of the things about Bison's culture, it is performance oriented.
Yes.
And performance oriented is good for whatever level you're at. Just because you're like, I'm here to be healthy, doesn't mean you should just do your workout and go home like a Planet Fitness. It means pushing yourself to whatever your potential is. And pushing yourself to that potential, that attitude and that mindset is the same whether you're a very high performing athlete or you're in 6 months or a year and you're just learning some of this stuff. Like, you should be performance oriented. How else are you going to get more fit? Right. You can't just say, all right, I'm going to do my 4 Peloton workouts this week and I'm good. No, improving yourself, being uncomfortable, pushing your limits is what you need to do. And that's what you do at a performance oriented environment. When you take the people who are most highly focused on those things out of the picture, that culture, that sort of mindset, sort of the thinking about it gets lost.
Yeah.
And when I see, and you don't have to have games aspirations to push, like you said, Aaron, one of the quietest guys in the gym, but I know, and because I've worked with him before, he
Likes to push.
oh my God, that guy is competitive in his core, and he will push to whatever he has within him. But at the end of the day, if it went great, if it didn't go great, he goes home. But did he improve himself? He absolutely improved himself. And I love working around a guy like that because even though he doesn't show it, even though he's not trash talking, even though, listen, that guy is inside trying to beat your ass. And I love that. I love knowing that about him.
And dude, like having the high level athletes there's two things, right? Like when we talk performance, we're not just talking about like faster times or heavier weights or whatever. Moving better is a key thing. So when I have if you guys are in class with me, or if I see, I don't know, like Karam in class with me, I feed off of that because obviously you guys are like pushing way heavier weight than I would, but you're also moving really well. So I learn off of that. I learn from that.
Right.
And if you don't have that type of athlete in class, I feel that the learning is stunted, you know?
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, if you took away over the past years, the top, if you want to come up with like a ranking system, right? Just say we don't really have a ranking system here other than the open leaderboards. Let's say we took away the top 20 athletes. I think everyone else in the gym would get worse.
Oh, absolutely.
They just disappeared. Like if we opened up a competitor gym and all 20 went over there, people here would get worse.
Yeah.
And they would care. Yeah, they would care. I don't care what, like they would care that their performance went down. And I think it's a privilege to have a lot of good athletes here because it helps push you. But I also think those good athletes, it's a privilege to have others around you. So I'll tell you what, if I put you in a room by yourself every day, you have to train by yourself, you wouldn't work hard. I bet you would stop. I bet you quit. And it's you need to understand and respect that they're actually helping you out as well. And that's what I want to go for. The culture is it's a mutually beneficial relationship as long as you're just around good leadership and responsible people, right? And I think that's who we attract.
Yeah.
We had Kevin Yurchak, who's been in the game for a decade now. He said, you got like really good people here. It was something simple like left his pull-up grip somewhere and someone brought it to him. And it's just, it's who you attract. It's like who you are is who you attract. And I think as this place gets you're going to get even more contributions from other people that make this place even more special than it is already. So how can you contribute to a culture? If someone, we get this question a lot, how can I help? I want to help this place. How can I help? And again, like I said, you don't need to be a coach to help this place. You don't need to buy stuff for us to help this place. What do you guys think if someone said, what can I do to help contribute to this culture or improve it?
Number one, just be a nice person. Just be like nice when you're in here. And we've talked about everyone has stuff outside the gym going on, or 5 a.m., 6 a.m. It's really early or whatever. But just be like a nice person. Be a good person. The good person part we probably can't help you with. If you're a bad person, then that's on you. But that's first and foremost. And just be like courteous. Be courteous to the people around you. I think if you do those two simple things, it goes a long way. That's a start.
Sam, what do you think?
I think about the people who are, I would say, culture leaders, like the athletes that I look up to, that I want to emulate. And it's not about performance a lot of times. It's how they carry themselves. It's how they interact with other people. I think in quality movement, I really respect someone who moves correctly. I never care so much. I do care about who's top of the leaderboard when I scan through the whiteboard. But what I really want to look for is the people who move really well and what they're doing.
Right.
I don't really care about the person whose form is jacked and gets a certain time. I find the people that I know move clean. And to me, they are the touchstones of the gym. And that's how when I coach, that's what I say. I say, nobody looks at the people who have jacked movements because they don't want to be like that. They look at the people who are clean. And one of the people that I've always looked at was, well, now she's gone, Nicole Radcliffe. Bringing cleanest ass movements you've ever saw. And it looked the same from the front, from the beginning and to the end. And
very, very aerobic athlete, just very repeatable.
Right. And so Nick Squire, same thing. I hate to keep bringing up his name, but I see him a lot at 6 a.m.
Sam thinks about Nick a lot.
Not in a weird way. But I do. Karam, Rhee, I love her attitude. Everyone brings something different. And so they're not all the same. but there are certain qualities and factors that I see in people. And I think those are the people that I look at and I'm like, wow, like, yeah, I definitely want to be more like these people.
Yeah. So that those are like, again, you can find so many different ways to contribute to a culture and make it better. And we just gave you, some of it was personality based. Some of it was actually like how you work out and how you interact with people after you work out. You go off ground, give some high fives. Kathleen cheers for people during workouts all the time. Like, I love that. Like, all of a sudden it's like, all you hear is music and panting, and all of a sudden you hear Kathleen like start cheering someone on, like as she's doing a muscle up. It's a really cool thing that I think that, again, if you can come in here just every now and then, just put someone else before yourself, even though you're here for yourself. I know that, and that's fine. It goes a long way, and it can really have a trickle down effect. How can one ruin a culture? Like, how can one make someone Bison a worse place, can kind of take a bite out of the momentum that's been grown over the 8 years?
Dude, someone that's like constantly negative. And I feel like we don't have it here, but I've been at other places where like someone will walk into the room and it's like an energy black hole.
Yeah,
It just sucks the energy out of the place. And so as a coach, and as an athlete, like maybe because I'm a coach, I'll try to lighten the mood, but that's so hard, man. Like if someone walks in and they're just always negative and it's coming, that's an easy way to just bring down everything.
Yeah, negativity obviously sucks. I don't necessarily even think you have to be, I was just thinking about positive people, like still the people that I like. And I was just thinking leading by example will show you whether you're a good person for the gym or a bad person. So I think of even the quiet ones who just show up for open gym, they do their own thing, they leave. Jason in the evening is one of the quietest guys you'll ever meet, but just by his example, what he does.
Watch out for him, by the way.
That guy is,
he's awesome.
And
trying to figure some things out.
And all I can say is you can be a good or bad person by the example you lead.
For sure.
People see what you do. You may not think we see what you do, but the minute you enter that gym and what you do, not to make it creepy, like we're like
checking the camera.
Like secretly surveying you, but just know that everyone can tell who you are in a lot of ways by what you do before the workout, in the middle of the workout, after the workout.
Assume that someone is watching you.
And
that's what you should do.
Be your best person.
Right.
And I am as guilty of that as anyone else. I just was thinking last we were talking about the warm-ups and stuff like that. I had the crappiest face when
you do that. You have like, so I think it's more when you're tired.
I had this resting B face where
language.
And who was it? It was Jazz across the way was looking at me when I had to go and do my kips or whatever on the warm up. And she just laughed at me because I looked like
ruthless.
I looked so and I was like,
good job.
That's so obvious, isn't it? I guess I should really present better. And so in a lot of ways, I'm always hugs and smiles after a workout, but I really should walk in and not look like I'm ready to kill someone beforehand or in the middle of a workout. Sometimes I'll have a really crappy expression on my face. I should hold myself to a higher standard. And I think a lot of people, if they really think about it, should think, what is it that I want to project as a person? Do I want to be the person that looks nasty, acts nasty, like is taking my frustrations out on other people? Or do I want to be, because a lot of times what you act like or what you project is who you are. Right. Like, I don't know. There are a lot of different ways of sort of expressing that, but you can change yourself just by consciously being the person you want to be. And just thinking about this makes me think, well, there are things that I can do to make myself a better person, a better touchstone, a better example.
Add to the culture,
at the gym.
Like, I remember reading I've had two favorite baseball players in my life, Derek Jeter and Don Mattingly. Like those. So Don Mattingly was more of probably until I was like 10, 11, and then Jeter came on, and basically like that was like who I grew up watching. And I remember listening to him talk about when he was a rookie, Don Mattingly told him at spring training, when there's no fans there yet, he said, you run from station to station or field to field, you never walk. And Jeter was, there's no one here. And he goes, there might be a kid watching somewhere. And he's just assume someone's always watching you. And he goes, it's your job, it's your responsibility to be an example. And keeping the negativity out like that and just assuming someone's watching you at all points. When you're in here, not talking about anyone outside, when you're in here, assume someone's watching you and they're gonna emulate you. So that's that. I have two ways that I think people can really kind of hurt a culture, or something you just try to like really avoid the best you can. And this can actually happen outside the gym more often than in, and it's gossip. And look, we're in the business where discussing others is a part of growth and improvement. Like we have to. And we talk about, and members are allowed to do this too. Like when you're really trying to help someone, you got to talk about them. So if someone, and I had a situation like this years ago where someone literally called me out, texted me, called me, showed up at my house, and was like, "Hey, I heard you were talking about me," and it, the game of telephone, it gets misconstrued. But I was very honest. I was like, "Yeah, I talk about people all the time, and if you don't understand why, it's going to easily come across as gossip." And so we need to kind of define this line of like, what is gossip and what. So I keep things as simple as possible to make myself not go overwhelmed. Gossip to me is you talking about someone for your own enjoyment, or it fulfills your stress. So that's why you're not actually talking about someone to help them. You're talking about someone else to put them down, or to, again, fill your own insecurities, fill your own issues, right? So when it comes to the gym, I'm not talking about your outside life. I'm talking about to the gym. If you feel like you're constantly talking about other people and you're really not trying to do it from a helpful mindset, then I think that's a potential culture killer. Because if you get a lot of people that do it and then things get taken out of context, it gets ugly pretty fast.
Yeah. For me as a coach, like that's one thing that I'm really thankful for here is I don't really care about people's personal lives. So like,
unless they're seeking your help.
Unless you're seeking my help. Exactly. For me, it's like, all right, man, like what's the best way I can help this person? And if there's like a personal thing that I can like help with, that's great. But like, I don't want to know like other stuff. It's great to be oblivious to stuff. I feel sometimes.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think as an athlete too, as a member, as an athlete of Bison or another gym, just this kind of goes back to like staying in your lane, right? Just knowing who you are as a person, and knowing like the best way, the most positive way to make an impact, I think is going to help eliminate some of that like gossipy stuff.
Avoiding conflict.
Yeah.
This is a big thing for me because I think it's actually a problem at Bison. I think there are people who gossip and it bothers me a great deal.
Yeah.
And they're people that I love, that I consider close friends, that I think gossip.
Yeah.
And it bugs me.
Yeah.
And I don't say anything about it. What I do is try not to get involved with it or hear it. But I can't help but hear it peripherally. And I think it's a culture killer for sure.
Yeah. I also think it's the culture like outside of Bison is what we're in right now. It's just like, I just think talking about other people is so rampant because of social media. Like you're just in people's business all the time.
And I really wish that I didn't hear it. And I really wish that, I can't control people's actions. So I'm not going to go up to people and say, don't gossip. I will never say that. I'm never going to tell people what to do.
Right.
But the thing that I can do is shut it out. And I will tell you the reason is because I react really negatively to it. And I am pretty open to pretty much everyone at the gym. Me, like, used to call me the mayor because I'm always like freaking like being friendly to people.
Mayor.
Like the few people that I have really turned off or shut out are the people that I know have said something really negative about someone close to me.
Yeah.
To a group of people.
Right.
And if you do that, you are persona non grata in my mind.
Right.
Until
you own up to it, apologize.
And make amends in some way.
Yeah.
And the other stuff that goes on here, and let's face it, interpersonal relationships happen in life that are messy, right?
Yeah.
Right.
People with other people not with other people,
Right.
People doing this, that, or the other thing. The gym is not the place for that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
It really isn't. And yet it's brought in all the time.
Yeah.
And I can't stand it. And I really wish, and I think about 3 or 4 people, one or two people are persona non grata in my mind at the gym. And it's based solely on this aspect.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
The people that I love that talk about others in a way that, like you said, the definition is either for their own entertainment,
Right.
or to get a reaction to someone, not because they're actively trying to help or do something.
Right.
I really wish they would stop, because at the end of the day, it makes them look, well, first of all, less trustworthy. Are you ever going to talk or really be close to someone who you feel like could actually
Be doing that to you.
That's a good
talk
point.
to you
Yeah.
or others about what you talk to them about.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is it doesn't help. It's very hurtful.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's what it's talking about, gym culture. We all want this place to do well, not so that we can make money, so that it can be here. When we got shut down, this had a really bad impact on a lot of people. And some that you guys probably know about, some that you guys probably don't know about, just conversations I've had this place. And it wasn't just the people that we make money off this place. It's and support our families. Like it was a scary thought for a while. But people outside of that, like they were really hurt by the fact that we weren't here. And just imagine if this place wasn't here right now, like who you wouldn't know, all the relationships. Just imagine that this place never opened up. Now imagine that the reason this place is doing well is the culture. It's not us. It's not the programming. It's the culture.
Yeah.
And if the culture gets killed and eventually this place disappears, think about how many lives you're impacting in a negative way. So you can have a negative impact on the culture if you find that you're constantly gossiping about people and things. And that is our way of saying, like, you could ruin this place and you could have a negative impact on a lot of people if that's you.
Yeah.
So it's just something we should always be cognizant of, because it's a scary thing in the air, like how quick things can turn.
Oh, dude, for sure.
And Mike could probably go into that with a couple other places he's been at.
And as coaches, like, people share a lot of stuff with you.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
a lot of personal stuff.
A lot.
And if they didn't trust you with it, it would ruin the environment and the culture of this gym.
That's a good point.
And
Yeah.
so I want people, if they want to come to me with something and share something with me, I want them to know it's between us.
Yeah. I'm not going to
Yeah.
go into my group chat.
And say, hey, guess what? Like,
Yeah.
and I've had some amazing conversations with people, not about gym stuff, about outside gym stuff.
Yeah.
And to me, that's what the culture of CrossFit Bison is. If you know someone because they're a quality person, because you see how they move, what their workout's like, how they act, and you talk to them and you find out more about them, that's awesome.
Yeah.
But that only happens when you really trust each other.
Like that's a personal stuff that, like, I'm really, I don't want to make it seem like I don't want to know about people, because, like we've talked about, knowing someone, getting to know someone and what affects them, the huge thing. It's like the awkward, weird stuff that I just don't want to know about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Yep. I know exactly what you're talking about. So supporting others versus being jealous of others, that in relation to the culture. And I'm going to keep it to working out for now. And supporting others versus being jealous. This to me is pushing each other while we work out rather than always competing against each other. Like we brought up Aaron earlier. Aaron wants to compete, but he's quiet about it. And he really only cares about just getting a push, but also giving a push to other people. Like I love it when someone says, like, hey, like, I love you came to class today. Like, it made me push harder. Like that makes me feel as good as anything when it comes like that. That's a good feeling that I came there, or I worked out with, even if you guys were even in my class, like you would push me. I worked out with Mike on that nasty dumbbell thruster workout 2 Fridays ago. It had 2 10-minute AMRAPs, right? Being next to each other, push me. And like, it's a really cool thing to have. It's really unique too. That's us supporting each other. Like I support Mike and whatever he wants to do with his life, but like we're going to keep and coaching and Bison and what he's trying to do. And he does the same for me. We're always checking in on each other, how each other's feeling. Right. And when we work out, I'm not trying to beat Mike. Mike's not trying to beat me. So we're showing support by simply just pushing each other in a workout.
Yeah.
But if we were to and maybe this would be the case back in 2011 or 2012, right? It's like, it's almost like if he beat me in a workout, I get jealous. All right. And then it makes me almost like resent him. We have a lot of that in the gym. And I think probably every owner I've talked to, they have a problem with this too, is that some of these people can't get over the fact that like they just are always competing with someone. And like their eyes are like just gravitating towards a certain person on the whiteboard. And if they beat them, they feel good. If they don't beat them, they feel bad, or that person cheated, right? Like when it comes to the culture, you should be on daily WODs supporting each other. You're trying to push each other. You're not trying to beat each other, unless it's like for playful trash talk, right? And at the end of the day, it still doesn't matter, right? And I think that we have so many people in this gym that they would be in better shape right now if they were not trying to compete with certain people every single day. Or they'd still be here and they wouldn't have a ripped up body.
Yeah.
I really believe that.
A big thing is, except for Matt Frazier, he doesn't count because he finished first and everything. But let's go super high level, right? Like you look at games athletes, look at Froning, right? Rich Froning, when he competed, he won events, but he wasn't first all the time. He was just super consistent with his performances, right? So now let's trickle that down to your general athlete. If you're coming in here every day and you're performing to the best of your ability, you're moving well, you're supporting others, you're getting the support from others as well, dude, that's all you can really ask for. It's super unrealistic to think to yourself, man, I'm gonna be at the top of the leaderboard every day, and I'm gonna beat this person every single day. If you're really missing the point of CrossFit in general, and what we're trying to do at Bison, I think.
There are some people that compete with me, and sometimes I beat them and sometimes I don't. Rob DiPiero is an awesome example. Awesome athlete, crushes me on a bunch of workouts. Some workouts I beat him, but and he's a really good push for me because we're different athletes. So if I'm sitting there and I'm doing a workout, I will always start slow. And if it was a 10 or 12-minute workout, he's got me hands down. Yeah. But if you stretch it out to 20 to 25 minutes, usually I'll start to creep up and maybe I can nudge ahead a little bit depending on the movement. And watching him and watching me, sometimes that gives me that push at the end to try to push a little bit harder.
Yeah.
And so we're in competition with each other. He wants to beat me, but he's not jealous and he's always supportive. And I feel the same with him. I want to beat him, but I'm not going to hurt myself in order to do so.
It's more of like a supportive relationship.
It's very supportive.
Yeah. It's not combative.
And I see other people doing the same thing where they're not supportive. Like they'll see someone and they'll try to cut them down in some way, shape, or form, and say, "Oh, it wasn't him. He was either shorting his reps." And that happens. There's another guy who used to do that to me all the time. He'd be like, "Are you sure you got all your rounds in, Sam?"
Yeah. Did you miscount?
And I'm like, "Fuck." But internally, I'm like,
"Yes, I beat you." Do that.
But I'm a little insecure, so I'm like, "Well, maybe I'm not sure." Yeah. But there are always going to be people out there that will say stuff that is, you see it's negative, and that's really bad for culture.
Yeah.
But you know what it really is? It's competitiveness taken to X degree.
Controlled by ego.
Yeah. So and I don't mind people wanting to beat me. Like, listen, please beat me. Like use
support.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But don't sit there and then denigrate me if you can't for some reason beat me.
Right.
You're not sitting there accusing me of cheating in some way, shape, or form when you crush my ass, okay?
Right.
It's only when I happen to beat you that you're like, "Oh, Sam, what's going on?" Yeah. Make it not about me, make it about you, and see what's going on with you.
Right. That's a good point. Yeah. So I think I think the majority of our members here and the majority of CrossFitters do get it, that the group is there to help you and you're there to help the group in a workout, right? If you don't believe me, go work out by yourself for 3 months. Let me know how you do. And you need these people. That's what, like, I need people here. You guys need people here, and they need you. And I think if we all kind of just stay on that page, I think it's going to be a culture builder.
Yeah.
Right. It was proven during the pandemic when we were doing these stupid at-home workouts, and every now and then people meet in a park. And again, you do that because you're desperate to be around a push, and there's nothing wrong with that. That doesn't mean you're not disciplined. Doesn't mean you lack motivation. And if you can get away from competing with each other and more along the lines of, hey, we're here to help each other out. I think it really can. And the fact that can you be humble enough to say, I need these people for me to really push as hard as I want to in my workouts. I think it can solve a lot of issues and help build our culture. All right. Something more lighthearted, like social events, building relationships out of the gym. I've always said a community is not built in the gym with staged Instagram videos of people clapping at a PR. I think they're built outside the gym. And because that's when you really start you can really dive into people's personal lives if you want to, and if they want you to dive into their personal life, but also you kind of see a different side of them. And I feel like when you see the human side of people, you can understand them more at the gym. And this is something that this was really easy to do back in the day, 2015, 2016. If we would just send a group out like, hey guys, let's go meet at a bar, you have half the gym would show up, but it wouldn't be too many people. If we do that now, we wouldn't be able to fit somewhere, right? And that's something that we're trying to figure out right now. We're looking into hiring someone to be in charge of running events at the gym, which I think is going to be a big help moving forward because we have so many new people.
Yeah.
It's amazing how many people come to the gym that haven't been here in a while for whatever reason. And they're like, I don't know anybody here. I'm like, dude, you've only been gone a year, but there's been so many, and like to really get this thing going and staying on path, you need to at least give the opportunity for people to see each other outside the gym. I don't think you need to go to all the social events to be a part of a positive culture, but I think a lot of people do need that. A lot of people need the human connection outside the gym. Some do, some don't. But we need to, I think Bison's fallen short a little bit over the past probably, I mean, I don't want to include COVID, but the past 2 years probably in terms of really trying to mesh all these new people, because this is now an intimidating place to come to. There's just so many people, and like, yes, there's cliques. Like there's going to be cliques. When you have over, I'm not going to get to how many members we have, but like when you have a lot of members, there's going to be groups of friends. You want to call it a clique, but they gravitate towards each other. And I think this is a responsibility that some people could take on. Don't always go to your friends every time you come here, right? Like go talk to someone new. Like that person's going to be there next week too. And so we're going to hire someone to kind of just get that thing back on track, like a few events every year. And if you can make them great, if not, it's okay, because that is when I think a culture really takes off.
Yeah, I agree. I think that was like when we were at Hoboken, that was one of the cool things there is like, we would have social events. What was that thing that we used to do?
Bar crawl?
Well, the bar crawl, and then it's
Power hour.
Yeah, it's actually like you think about it, very irresponsible because it was like
I was just about to say, power hour in college meant something. Is it the same thing that you guys did?
Yeah,
drinking.
Except like it also involved pull-ups.
Yeah.
So like yeah, and then
Very CrossFitty.
it accelerated muscle ups.
So it was like every minute or
every minute
or an hour.
Take a sip. Other people were doing shots. I'm like, that's a lot of shots.
That's 60 shots. That's not happening. Yeah. It was usually beer. We would do like a shot of beer or some beer and
a pull up.
And
it was like you had to do a pull up and a shot of beer for an hour straight.
Yeah.
Did you do it?
Yeah, it's great. It was awesome.
What was hard, the beer or the pull ups?
The fact that Ashley was on my back while I was doing it. I was literally doing pull. I have a picture. I'm like, oh my God.
Oh, man.
All right.
So yeah, like stuff like that definitely makes a big difference because I mean, most people only have an hour to get here and then they have to go home and like deal with kids and spouses and whatnot. So when you have those social events and you get to know, like you were saying, dude, like the human side of someone, I think that's really big.
Yeah. What do you think, Sam?
Yeah. When I first started here, people would just hang out
in the lobby.
Yeah. And just talk. And I feel like actually the podcast is sort of an outgrowth of that, just like trying to talk about stuff that we used to just hang out and talk about all the time. But yeah, the social events are, yeah, you're right. There's a lot of stupid stuff that happens when you involve alcohol or just people hanging out socially.
And type A personalities that are competitive.
Yeah. I think back about, some of that stuff. And especially me who doesn't hold their alcohol very well. And people get to know you really well, like in those situations.
Yeah. Some people say the truth comes out when you get drunk. I don't know if I completely agree, but I could see why someone would say that.
Yeah.
So that could be a culture killer as well. But, maybe that's why we're not. Maybe that's why the gym's bigger than it's ever been, because we're not getting drunk together.
But I would say even the stuff like poker and some of that other stuff that like Rob shared.
Those like spontaneous things.
That was fun.
I'll tell you what's happening right now that's really cool. Liz's 6:15 Friday class has turned into, that class used to be 2 people tops. Like just no one came in. Now there's like 10, 15 people. And the reason they come in is they hang out after.
Drink. And
every time I come in, I do my Saturday morning conditioning. There's 19 White Claws in the garden. And I was like, wow, they had a good time last night.
I mean, they're going to be spontaneous. Like I know a lot of people just spontaneously start hanging out because they hang out at the gym or they meet at the gym and they start hanging out outside.
So many relationships that blossom from Bison.
And just friends,
that's being friends.
Yeah. And I think if you're new, it's sometimes hard, especially post-COVID. So I agree. I think that just sort of making it friendlier for people to hang out would make it, because we are like-minded people.
Yeah.
And if you don't know a lot of people at Bison, trust me, when you really hang out with them, you'll find you have so much in common.
Yeah.
And not necessarily from a professions or work a standpoint, just from a perspective and mindset, which honestly is much better than someone who you just happen to friggin' sell telephone books with, somewhere.
That's true. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. So, I mean, I think I want to use Mike here a little bit because Mike has been to a few different, he's been a main voice at so many different places, and he's probably seen the good and bad. And I have some stuff I can probably bring up from our past, either Bison or even CrossFit Hoboken. We had a little talk before this. We're not going to throw anyone specific under the bus unless you want to. I'm not going to. I don't think it's necessary either. I wouldn't want anyone to do that to me, so I'm not going to do that to them. But I do think that part of what Bison is now is what we've seen happen in a negative sense at other gyms. I'm like, all right, let's make sure we don't do that when it comes to the culture, right? And so, Mike, is there anything off the top of your head?
Well, first, it starts with the top, right? Ownership, leadership, however you want to term it.
Right.
In the gyms I've worked at, the downfall or the negativity, however you want to term it, it always started from the top, right? So people can do their best to insulate that from others, but it eventually trickles down, right? And it'll start first with the coaches, and then eventually it makes it to the members. And dude, once it makes it to the members, then spreads like wildfire, dude. It's so tough. So having ownership, leadership that will establish a good culture like we have here, that's super important. And it's hard to do. Like you're saying, we're growing a lot, right? And the other gyms that I've been to, they grew a lot as well. And sometimes if that growth is, I don't want to say unchecked, but if you don't keep on top of things, then the negativity can spread really fast. Mm-hmm. So that was a big thing.
What do you mean by negativity? What did you see that was negative?
Well, there's some places I've been at where ownership philosophies, they didn't mesh, right? And when you have right there, you're going to have a difference of culture, right? And once you have, sometimes that can be amended together, but if that difference in culture isn't, if it's too great, like if the two places are, or whatever is the difference is too great, then that might never bond. And if that's the case, then you essentially you're fighting a losing battle. You're never going to unite people is what I'm trying to say. So that's been a big thing always. And every gym I've coached at it starts at the top. If there isn't a clear vision, if there isn't a united vision, then that's really big. We're also, in my opinion, man, we're super lucky here because the coaching staff, we all look at things very similarly. Obviously, we have our own philosophies and this and that when we coach and everything, but we're on the same page. And I haven't been part of a coaching team like that since my days at CrossFit Morristown and my really early days at CrossFit Hoboken when Dave and Taff were there. If not all your coaches are on the same page, dude, that's big too, man. Because then instead of, say, handling conflicts internally, right? Coaches' conflicts, things happen, right? Yeah. Dude, all of a sudden a coach will start talking to members or whatever, and then that's really bad too. Like stuff like that has been.
What's sensitive about it is it could just take one slip up. Yeah, from a coach. And I tell, I feel pressure all the time here, all day, every day, 24/7, 365. And I want coaches when they're coaching, not outside, to feel the same way. And it's not because hey, I feel you should too. It's more, it's so sensitive. Like you can build this thing for 7-8 years and it could take one bad day.
Yeah.
For you to really say something that you shouldn't, do something that you should didn't, and you could ruin it. And it's a huge responsibility and sometimes it's not words and sometimes it's actions, right? And I can think about situations at CrossFit Hoboken, like coach starting to sleep with multiple girls at the gym. And also another one in Hoboken as well, that kind of sent that gym down the shitter too.
Oh yeah.
Where the coach was just sleeping with a bunch of different women or sleeping with, I don't want to bring sex up too much here, but you bring up a spouse, husband, wife at the gym and one of the coaches is sleeping with the wife. And that, all it takes is that.
Yeah.
One bad decision and it could ruin the whole thing. Just at the snap of a finger. And it's a tremendous responsibility, and we should feel pressure all the time. Not that you're trying to avoid that your urge to do that or you're fighting the urge to do it, but it could be a huge slip up that could happen in 5 seconds.
Yeah.
That could ruin something.
I mean, relationships will happen.
Right.
And I don't think there are any hard or fast rules in terms of what should happen between people, but the repercussions of those relationships are really important. And if they impact others, that's where the issue is. Like, for example, should coaches sleep with athletes?
If they're both single, right?
Well, they said,
Yeah.
so
that's what I was saying. It's not immoral.
right.
Yeah.
And did that turn out fine? Yes. But what would have happened if you had a girlfriend who you were also dating at the time,
Right.
get pissed off and then come to the gym and make a big fuss or cause issues?
Yeah.
That's really where it becomes an issue.
Yes.
It's not the actual relationship,
Was sacrificed.
but
Yeah.
what is the repercussion of that relationship?
Right.
And so that's where people have to be mindful. We're not sitting here telling people how to live their lives or how moral they should be or immoral or whatever that they're
Right.
doing. That is immaterial to any of us. Okay. But if a coach in that example is having sex with a couple of people and everyone's on board and everyone's like, yeah, woo, awesome. Okay, fine. Good for the coach.
Yeah.
But if people are really pissed off and there's a lot of conflict involved and that conflict is involving people in the gym and now people in the gym are taking sides and they're yelling at each other and
Yeah.
it's getting all over.
Not getting invited to this thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That is where that culture becomes a problem. And we're not telling people how to live their lives. What we're telling people is be mindful of what your effect will be on others. And that's really important. And sometimes you can't even anticipate it. So sometimes you actually have to be extra careful. So for example, and especially now in this day and age, well, can I use you and Melissa as an example, or is that not?
Yeah.
Okay, so then how did you guys meet and start dating and doing all that sort of stuff while she's an athlete and you're a coach?
So we're across at Hoboken, and I met her there, and we just started talking one day. I'm really awkward with girls.
Say
Like, I'm like,
I
so,
can't know.
oh, it's the worst. I'm so, like, my friends, I remember growing up, and my friends are like, oh man, that girl in college was so into you. Like, why didn't you tell me? We're like, oh, we thought you knew. I have no idea what I'm doing, man. You should have helped me out. So we just started talking and hanging out, and I don't even, this is going to be so bad, but like, I don't really know. Like, we just were like talking and stuff and got friendly with each other. But it was like one of those things, like once we started dating, I had come to grips with, all right, man, like if this goes south, like you need to make sure that like you handle it the right way.
Absolutely.
Because especially as a coach, you know, if it went south and if I handle it wrong, a lot of bad things could happen.
Absolutely.
So but also even as an athlete with things like that, interpersonal relationships at the gym, you have to realize, man, that is a culture killer. If something goes south and things are not handled well, then dude, all that blows up and people will know. That spreads like that.
And the problem with that is, and I'm glad it worked out well, and I'm glad you were sensitive to that. But I think it's very unpredictable. And I think as an owner, that is a nightmare situation where something blows out of proportion. And it can even be between athletes.
Yeah.
And then other athletes get involved. And we have seen that at Bison where it's become an issue and we've had to deal with it. And one is, listen, you can expect relationships will happen. Okay. They will happen between athletes, maybe between coaches and athletes, who the heck knows. But how a gym deals with it, how the greater group of athletes deal with it, that's really where it is.
Yeah.
And hopefully it's not going to be to the point where you're right. You mention it as sort of a stereotype, but it's really true. A lot of gyms get really blown up because of an inappropriate relation. Well, what we would call inappropriate, but whatever. Right. I mean, a relationship where there's a ton of conflict.
Yeah.
And then it just was not handled.
And it wasn't handled. Right. And the most important thing, I think, is also how did the gym handle?
Right. Like you can't expect that nothing's going to go wrong. You can't ever expect that you're just going to own a business for 5, 10, 15 years, right? With a lot of people and assume nothing's going to go wrong.
Right.
So it's almost like assume something will happen, and then you'd have to have a conditioned response.
And the culture of the group should also be such that
Strong enough to handle it.
So is there a ton of gossip going on? If it is, that probably is going to make the situation worse.
Right.
So a culture where gossip is frowned upon, where it's not looked at as positive,
Right.
will probably help in the first place.
Yeah.
Are the people in general supportive and not talking trash about each other?
Right.
Because if they're already talking trash about it, it wouldn't take much for things to get out of hand.
Yeah. I mean, even to change the subject somewhat, but it is kind of in the same, it's like a bullet point under what you're talking about, Sam, is we could take like the people sleeping with each other out of it and say, when it comes to athletes in the gym getting angry with each other and like, oh, you cheated this, I cheated that. I think all these discussions that we have on this podcast, but also how we hold ourselves. Like I had someone literally come up to me on Thursday's WOD and goes, oh, I came in today because I think I could beat you in this workout. And it's like, I literally laughed and did not care. And
But is it in a healthy way or in an unhealthy way?
I don't even know, to be honest with you. But but if we knew who it was, you'd be like, oh, okay, like whatever. And the thing is, if I was the kind of guy that would get mad about it and and text you guys about it and have a group text and tell all the coaches and tell other members that kind of just adds to eventually a big problem because other people will see it and then they'll emulate the action. Yeah. So like what I'm agreeing with you in that how to solve an issue with relationships is being conditioned right now by our actions and how you're building the culture.
A resilient community.
Right. Like, yeah, exactly. Like honest, like COVID came. Was I scared? Hell yeah. But you know what? In the back of my head, I was like, we're too strong for this to knock us out. I remember I told people, I was like, we'll be back. No doubt. Yeah. I don't care if this thing strips us all our money. We're going to be back and we're going to be back stronger than ever. Here we are. We're stronger than ever. And it's because it's not being cocky. It's just like, we were too strong. And do I think we could be stronger right now as a culture? Absolutely. Do I think I could do better? Do I think you guys could do better? Yes. Okay. And I'm never going to not say that, just so you know. But like, it's because of that I'm ready for pretty much anything. And I hope you guys are too, as coaches and leaders of the gym, that we're so strong, but we have a responsibility to make it even stronger because we don't know what's coming. And we can't control what's coming either. We couldn't control COVID. You can't control bad people at the gym. You just can't, right? I've been trying for years, you can't, right? But when you build a resilient culture, that's how you succeed long-term.
That's a great point.
Yeah. Resilient means accepting, not pushing people out. It means when crap happens, we're supporting each other.
Yep.
And it doesn't mean based on performance or anything else. It's just based on, who we are wanting to make everyone better. And I think that's the one thing that Bison does do as a culture from the top down is when I think of you, when I think of Chris, when I think of the coaches, is they want to make people better. And I think that culture, as long as it continues, that's what makes it resilient. So that when conflicts arise, when people have issues, that mindset, regardless of what it is, COVID, it helps us.
We defeat it.
It helps us stay together.
The last thing I wrote on here, we can close with this, or if you guys have more to say, we can. I just wrote this. I was like, the biggest message I want to get across on this episode is it is a responsibility of everyone that comes to Bison and everyone that goes to across it to build the culture in a positive way. Does it need to be overly hands-on? No. Best friends don't need to be there, but a gym stops growing or it starts to worsen when a group of people bring negative energy to the day after day to the gym. How can one avoid that? Bison is not perfect in several ways. I hear that we have too much dust in the corner.
I thought you were addressing that.
Oh, it's been addressed. Goddamn wall, all right? But one thing we have excelled with is culture. Not everyone is friends at Bison. We even have some people here that don't like each other. They actually dislike each other, but it does not and will not impact our culture. And those that cannot accept that will simply be weeded out. And they have been. Some have been weeded out because they can't accept that some people don't like them or they don't like other people. That's not the job of anyone to be liked or to have you like them. It's that you respect them and that you are trying to build this culture in a positive way. If you're not, you're going to be weeded out at some point.
That's a good point. Yeah.
And that takes a form in a lot of different ways. The person who shows up, does the workout, goes home,
Is part of the culture.
Is part of the culture.
100%.
They might say, hey, what am I doing that's somehow contributing in a positive way?
We talked about it.
And listen, just by what you do while you're here,
Pushing other people by showing up.
yeah, man. And even if you weren't to talk to a single person, but if you carried yourself in a really appropriate way and at least friendly and carried yourself with excellence and went home,
Yeah.
you're contributing to the culture.
Here's a thought. I actually had this thought. I didn't know where to put it in, so I'm just going to put it in here. It's almost done. If someone wants to know how they can contribute to the culture, but they haven't really taken in anything that we've said, or they don't feel like they can add based on what we've said, I'll tell you one thing you could do. You could show up to a class that doesn't have a lot of people. And I'll tell you this right now, okay? I know there's some people in our gym, they love the big class. It gives them energy. If they feel cool, they feel included, they feel part of the group. I'll tell you what, you would do a huge service if every now and then you went to a 7:15 or 8:15. And like when I'm done with my programming, and which is going to come next spring, I'm going to make an effort like once a week to get to a 7:15 or 8:15. And honestly, I don't care who's there. Like, I'm going to show up there to know that, like, the fact that someone's not working out by themselves at night, like, that would be I would have so much respect for a person that did that. Every now and then, show up to a 7:15 or 8:15, and yes, it might throw off your day. Again, this place is not about you.
Yeah.
I love that time, the people there, because, you know, I'll on ramp in the evening, and if I do, I'll work out at that time.
Yeah. It's fun.
It's great. I love the people. I love the fact that usually it's Ash. She has like all her eyes on me.
Yeah, right.
Because it's not like 20 people there.
Yeah.
I usually pick up something that I normally don't at the 6 a.m. class.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It is hard because
It's hard.
especially if I want to work out the next day at 6 a.m. That's a short term.
Yeah. And again, I'm not like, I don't want you taking that as you should do it. Like, I don't want anyone to feel individualized on that. I'm saying, I'm just offering an option. If someone is seeking a way that they can contribute to a culture, but they can't host a party, they're too busy to do this, they don't like going out with people, they don't want to get drunk on a Friday night, right? If you simply show up to a class that just doesn't have a lot of people, you guys can see on Zen Planner, like what classes are empty, that helps other people big time.
Yeah.
And
They're feeding off your energy.
yeah, like you've all worked out by yourselves before, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like, especially Sam. Sam started off, when he started off, like he was the 6 a.m. sometimes.
Yeah,
And
that was great.
he sucked.
Me and
Like,
Dave at 6 a.m.
yeah.
together.
It does. It's hard to work out by yourself, but guess what? There's someone doing it, and you could be the difference that doesn't. I would love some people to take that on.
Yeah, when Ricky and Andre showed up, we'd be like, yay.
Oh man! All right, so you guys done with this? Any closing thoughts?
More important than I thought it was going to be, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you're coming from someone that's probably thought about this place more than any two people combined since we've been open, and it's culture is going to make or break this place for the next 10, 15 years.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you, everybody, for taking the time out of your day to listen to the Herd Fit podcast. Be on the lookout for next week's episode.